The past 2 years have had a tremendous impact on our lives. We have all lost something or someone. Perhaps you had to close the doors of your company, or you had to fire people. Or perhaps your marriage or relationship was not corona-proof. Or perhaps you couldn't say goodbye to the one you loved due to the lockdown restrictions. Or imagine that you're a mother and have to send her son to war. Have you realized that these experiences have changed us? And that the emotions and feelings that you have today are part of a grieving process? My name is Mariska Kesteloo and I'm an entrepreneur, speaker and author of the book My Husband Has a Brain Tumor and I'm Standing Next to Him. I thought that I knew everything about loss and how to deal with any given situation. In the past 2 years, I lost my father-in-law, my mother, a dear friend, my husband, partner in crime and the love of my life, my cat, and my company who came to a complete standstill. I totally underestimated the impact of a grieving process and also the relationship between the long-lasting impact of the pandemic and a grieving process. What is grief? Grief is a natural response to losing someone or something that is important to you. And you may feel a variety of emotions. So why did no one tell me that I would get the brain the size of Nemo, the appetite of a 90-year-old woman, the speed of a snail and the concentration of a little child? And by the way, for those who want to lose some weight, grab your chance. I had a shortcut, all systems down. I completely lost myself. I totally underestimated the impact of a grieving process. I approached it like business. We deal with it and we move on. How wrong I was. And I'm convinced that today 80% of the people here in the room have symptoms of a grieving process. What can you do as an individual? Listen. People want to tell their stories. People want to be heard. People want that their suffering to be known. In today's society, there is no place to talk about loss and grief because these topics are not important. But we also see that it takes a tremendous amount of effort and energy not to tell about it and to keep them inside. Telling our story is a primal need. Thijs, the son of my best friend, he's only 5 years old, and asked 2 months after my husband passed away, he said, Mariska, did you love him very much? And I said, yes, I did, and I still do. So why can't we be like little children and ask the questions that really matters? And don't be like adults and ask, are you already over it? Yes, we need to carry on after a loss and we need to deal with a new situation. But like Manu Kerse, expert and professor in loss and grief says, it has nothing to do with letting go. It's not that we will forget our loved ones. We just need to hold on in a different way. And we need to create a situation where loss is like a shadow. It will be always with us. So please let loss and grief be part of your daily conversations and let the people express their emotions, because only then a healing process is possible. What can you do as a company? Listen and show to your employees that you care. After my husband passed away, I called the company and I wanted to visit and to speak with his team and his colleagues. This was not only appreciated by his team and manager, but it was also appreciated by me and his colleagues, because I lost my husband and they lost a dear colleague. A day before Christmas, I received a huge box from the company with lots of nice Christmas gifts. And I was touched. I was not touched by the Christmas gift. I was touched by the card that was in the box. And it was written, "Dear colleague, we all go through turbulent times. COVID has an impact on everyone's life. In addition, our company does not stand still. Unfortunately, we had to make the decision to let go a number of colleagues last year. And this year we lost our high-valued colleague Christophe. All of this touched our hearts and left its marks. People will forget what you have said, people forget what you have done, but people will never ever forget how you made them feel." Being an entrepreneur, I have a personal blog in which I share personal stories, but sometimes also stories about my professional life. And I needed to share an update, the naked truth that I lost 4 of my loved ones in 5 months' time. 10,001 questions would go through my mind. Can I publish this blog post? Yes or no? And how would people perceive me? Would they still do business with me? Do they take me seriously or not? Despite the 10,001 question, I decided to publish the blog post. And I received heartwarming reactions from all over the globe. And one of the results was that the conversations that I have afterwards with clients and potential clients, that we talked about 80% about their private lives and 20% about business. Because I opened the door to show my vulnerability, and so did they. So we had open conversations about loss, grief, and we could show each other's emotions. And so can you as a business leader. Because how can we expect from our team, from our employees, that they come in on Monday morning in the office and we would ask, "How was your weekend?" By the way, this is a very common question to ask in the Netherlands. And they would say, "Yes, fantastic. I've been out with my friends, had a beer in the bar, and by the way, I lost my mother-in-law." This is not going to happen. We need to create situations in which employees and your team will feel comfortable to talk about loss and grief and to show their emotions. Because if not, then people will start to hide their feelings and emotions and stories, and that will end up maybe in a burnout, depression, or that people will leave the company. And especially in these unprecedented times and a war for talent, we want to keep our best employees in our companies. How can we use our grieving process into our advantage? Irvin Yalom, a famous psychiatrist, believes that we can turn losses and traumatic experiences into a more meaningful life. This is only possible if we can shift our priorities away to a more meaningful life and take risks on a life to more joy, health, love, and success. My grieving process taught me so many insights. I became a stronger, more resilient, more sensitive, and a more purpose-driven person. A grieving process is reinvent yourself completely. Compare it with dismantle a car, and with every piece you put back, you reflect. Do I need this piece? Yes or no? Can we reuse this current piece, or should we replace it by something else? That's the summary of a grieving process. Reinvent yourself in every aspect of your life. It costs time, it costs energy, it costs effort, but more of all, it costs a huge amount of courage. My husband is not here with us today, and of course this is difficult because we need to move on. But I am sure that he is proud of me today. No matter how tough the situation, we need to move on. We need to create our lives. I promised my husband 2 things. The first thing was that I will continue with my business, because he said, "You're good at what you do, don't give up." The second thing, he said, "Travel. I regret that I didn't travel more with you, and his words stuck into my mind. Here I am, Mariska version 2.0, and the following actions I took after all my loved ones passed away. The first thing I did, I became the chair of an association to support patients and their loved ones after a diagnosis of a brain tumor. Second thing that I did, I bought a camper, and at the end of the month, I will leave on a journey through Europe. The third thing is I started a new company, and I will support, together with my co-founder, entrepreneurs and potential entrepreneurs to start a business in the meetings and events industry. I wrote a book about my personal journey. And last but not least, I am here today to share my personal story and to break through the barriers and let loss, grief, death be part of our daily conversations. I believe that things happen for a reason. And I'm convinced that most of the people are listening today have symptoms of a grieving process. Accept this, express your emotions and share your stories and talk about loss and grief today. Every end has a new beginning, and let this period of shared grief be a new start, a new beginning for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariska. Mariska, if you would stay with us.
Yeah. I'm just turning on the television.
Thank you so much for that very timely and very, very touching speech for many of us who have a lot of loss over the past few years. I think we could all relate to what you said. Thank you so very, very much. And actually, we have received a very good question for you. Again, acknowledging how timely your speech is. But how do we create those moments in which people will be able to share their losses and grief, especially when we talk about the future of work? How do we create a workplace where it is welcome to be courageous and share our losses with others?
Yes, that's an excellent question, but I think the example also needs to come from the leaders. If they don't show their vulnerability, what happened, the past 2 years have had an impact on everyone's life, on a business level, on a personal level. And I think we're all humans. The past 2 years haven't been easy, neither for leaders, neither for employees. So if they can share their challenges, what they have been through in the past 2 years, then also their employees will share their stories. Let's try to create a climate in which everybody can share their stories without being judged. I think that's really important.
Thank you, Well. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you.